Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Darlene with Unmaking a Mess. My online blog is Unmaking a Mess. You can find me on YouTube titled the same. And I have a podcast that is still titled Tinge of Bravery, but I hope to change that eventually. Definitely look me up on Facebook as well, Unmaking a Mess, because there's lots of messes to unmake, stemming from just years and years of when life happens. And so that's a little bit what this blog and videos are about. And I really hope that you can gain some insight from it and how sometimes just persevering and faith and reliance on God can just absolutely do you wonders. So I am so happy to be back. The last few weeks or so since I last recorded anything, I got really sick, and then my daughter got sick, and so a lot has actually happened. And excuse me, I know, like, when those things happen, I just feel like it takes me a while to really get caught back up on some type of routine and feeling somewhat stable again, mentally and emotionally and in my health. And obviously, I'm still battling with some anxiety and stuff, but that is definitely getting better. I will say, as of this day, some things obviously just kind of leading up, and you'll get to hear a little bit about it in this particular video, just how, things led up to just a little increased anxiety. So my doctor had to prescribe an increased dosage, and I feel tons better to the point where I'm exercising more and working on losing some weight. And so I can't wait to blog about that and tell you more about that. But I'm going to get you caught up right now. So please stick with me and listen in, because this is going to have a lot to do with, what happens when things do go upside down and the hospitals are involved, and it just kind of takes you down, as well as your kids, and how we can really handle that and where we can find peace and contentment. So I'm going to be reading from my online blog. So if you don't catch me here, look it up to read about it as well. And so here we go. This one is called Hospital. So I had been in the hospital for a couple of times in the last few weeks. For the first time, I was super deathly ill with influenza A. I was trying so hard to handle my sickness myself until late one night. I was so miserable, just laying face down on the bed. I finally called my neighbor and asked her to take me to the hospital. I cannot remember the last time I felt that ill. I'm so thankful that I got through it, but it took me down for a solid 5 days. And then, of course, another several days just trying to gain my strength back up. But when I call my neighbor, she is so gracious. It's just so such a blessing to have neighbors you can call, like in this case, 11 o'clock at night, and they are there for you. She picked me up. She came over, drove over, picked me up, and I sat in the back of her car, mask and everything on, and it was really cold that night. And the drive was just miserable because we had to go over some construction areas, and I was nauseated and I had a headache. I could barely walk anywhere. I had tried to make myself sick a few times, which I absolutely dislike to a core, getting sick. I can't even use that V word, you know what I'm talking about. Because, oh my goodness, I think I probably was stomach sick so much as a kid. It's like I have like this absolute fear of it now. And so anyway, I tried even to go to that extent, because how after you throw up, it's just a relief and nothing. So the drive there was really not so good. But once I had gotten there, they checked me in, and they ran tests on me. It had been, several tests and, even a scan and stuff because my stomach was so upset. And, but in between, the tests and everything, I literally finally curled up on that hospital bed and fell asleep for probably the first time in I don't know how long. It felt literally so good to just be in this hospital bed. I know that sounds really strange, and I don't wish it on anyone. I don't wish it on myself. Um, but I want to say something about that because it's kind of where I'm going a little bit with this particular blog that, it made me realize that, even the car ride there, even though it was not pleasant, it was just knowing that I was being cared for. And there's a lot to be said about that. I was in a place where I felt safe and able to fall asleep, um, because I think about the comfort of it and just laying there knowing that you had people that were there to keep an eye on you. If something went wrong, they would be there to take care of you at an instant. And, for a single mom, that felt really good for once. It had been a while since I had actually felt that way. As single parents, we don't have the luxury of having someone care for us when we are sick. We have to figure out ways of handling things from the means of our bedroom as we're lying in bed, no matter the condition we're in. It's quite an incredible achievement to accomplish. And, um, as a believer, I know that somehow, some way, God sees me through some of the hardest times ever, even when I don't feel like I'm able to handle them on my own. He gives me the wisdom that I need to take care of myself and my girls, when I am stuck and laid up for a while. It's not always the perfect situation, but honestly, perfection is obviously overrated. And even when I am well, I don't strive for it. We just strive for living and handling things the best we can. And I say that for all parents out there that are handling things on their own. We're just waking up and, striving to get through the day and do the best we can. And it's such a huge accomplishment when we get to the end of our day and realize that we did it, and we can really feel good about that. I did find out that particular day that I did have influenza A, and so it was going to be taken care of with Tamiflu. I was thankful to have a medicine that I knew was going to knock it out. And like I said, it did still take a few days to recover, and it was probably one of a handful of times, not even that I actually missed one of my daughter's tournaments. And so that was really hard. But once again, you rely on people, and you should rely on people because they want to be helpful. And, as parents who are trying to navigate life on our own, sometimes you just got to reach out and ask for help. And that is absolutely okay. And I hope you are doing that even more. Moving on, I had talked a little bit about how it had been a couple of times that we had been in the hospital. And so lo and behold, part of the reason why you haven't seen me on here, because there was recovery time and then trying to get things caught up in the house, home, finances, and all that kind of stuff, that I found myself back in the hospital again. This time it was with my daughter. She had been having some severe stomach cramps for a few days. And prior to that, she was not feeling herself, for a couple of weeks. In fact, once I had gotten over the flu, she began to have symptoms of it. And fortunately, I was able to call the doctor, and he prescribed the same antibiotic to her over the phone, thank God, because I didn't want to see her, go anywhere in the car like I had to and just feel, that uncomfortable feeling. And so she was able to take the same medicine. And because she's obviously way younger than me, she recovered a lot quicker, which I'm so thankful for. But after that, she still was not completely good. She had still been having some stomach problems, and she felt weak, and she continued to have headaches. And so, she just kind of pushed on. And, it's hard for us parents to know, like, when to really step in, call the doctor, take your kid in, because if they're continuing to do their activities, in this case, she continued to go to work. And then when she was done, she would come home and rest. So I didn't know exactly what to do until one night. Um, Actually, it was the middle of the day on a Sunday. She contacted me. I wasn't home. I was with my youngest at a wrestling tournament for her boyfriend. And, it takes a lot for my middle daughter to say, I'm really not well, because she absolutely does not like going to doctors for anything. She is deathly afraid of needles. And so for her to call me and say, I really think I need to go to the doctor, was a big deal, especially knowing that it was Sunday and we would have to go to the ER instead. Um, so anyway, I took her in. And actually, backtracking, since I'm going off on tangents here. I had taken her to the express clinic a couple of days before, and they determined that it had something to do with that Tamiflu still being in her system. Not only that, she had been taking like this powder that was for a digestive system, because she was thinking, maybe she wasn't feeling regular and maybe it would help. And they just told her to drink lots of fluids to try to wash it out. But nonetheless, here we were 2 days later, and she still was not feeling good. So we had to take her into the ER. We got in there and we sat and waited and waited. And they immediately thought that it was her appendix, given that the pain that she was having was on her right side. Is that where your appendix is? But anyway, they thought that it was her appendix, and they ran tests and an ultrasound on her. And then they discovered that the pain was shifting from side to side. So, could not be appendix. It had to be something else. They detected inflammation in her intestines, possible infection in there. And so they gave her pain medication, and they saw a need to keep her overnight, which was a huge shock to me. But I have to say that it was also kind of this odd relief, because no different than I found myself laying in the hospital bed where I knew I was going to get taken care of. This particular time, I was thankful that they were keeping her, because had I taken her home, I'm not sure I would have known what to do or what else to watch for. And I had help. I really had somebody there that wanted to care for my daughter and look after her. And so, that was a big deal for me to, share that responsibility. So she laid there. Let me try to get caught up here. So she lay there on the hospital bed trying to rest. I, on the other hand, went home, grabbed a few things, my blanket and everything, and I made this little bed right beside hers where I curled up and I slept really well, because we were safe and taken care of. I'm going to deviate for a moment here and hope I don't lose my place. She was placed in the pediatric unit because she was 17 the day we brought her in, and that's going to have some significance here after I get to that point. And it was so nice because there was like an actual like bed that was along the wall. It was just kind of like more of, a long ottoman of some kind, but at least, is where I could stretch out. So the first night that she was there, I wanted to be close to her, sleeping in the same room. and that did give me that secure feeling. The second night, they kept her there another night because the inflammation was not going down, and she was still having some of that pain, even with the pain medication. So she was doing better. I probably could have come home that night, but I felt better about staying there and instead just kind of being close to her, which, felt good to be able to do. There really is something to be said about being somewhere where you feel relaxed and you can breathe, even though there's the uncertainty of the illness, and just being in the environment with the doctors and nurses close by allowed me to have others, like I said, take care of my daughter. And that was a secure feeling that, I don't think I have felt like in a really, really long time. So I did feel that comfort of being beside her, and she slept and I slept. And, being in the hospital with my daughter did give me like this different kind of safeness. The first time I felt safe and able to sleep knowing that I was cared for. The second time I felt thankful and comforted knowing that I had someone else that was there to be with her and I could be by her side. There is a lot to be said for that. I know I repeated a lot of that too because I tend to go off on these tangents, and I hope that doesn't bore you, and I hope I do keep it interesting enough, but kind of getting the point of where I'm going here. But I do love being a mom. I am ever so thankful that God has given me the strength and ability and the endurance to handle each and every day that I can. I am approaching things differently lately, or at least I'm practicing how to view the events and trials and not let them consume me. It almost happened where I walked down the hospital corridor, the first night that she was there, and I almost did it. I almost allowed that pitiful me to take over and attack my thoughts, where I felt, those coming on. I had to really pass them off and tell myself that this situation was no different than what others have gone through, whether it's as a parent or as a single parent. And this was nothing compared to what others have gone through. And it was time to see this through differently. It was a trial. It was going to happen. I was there. I was able to be there for her and have others help me care for her. And, I was not alone. I consider this to be a blessing as opposed to being stranded. I don't want to have that stranded, poor, pitiful me feeling. I know we can go through those stages, in our days. And, if you do, just capture them when you can and realize that you've been here before and you're going to be there again at some point in level with something else, and you're going to get through it. So this might have been a first for me to feel this way in years. I may not like therapy because it's hard to talk about my past and how it affects our present, but throughout my life, I've had so many incidences that have placed me in this fight or flight mentality. I seem to hang on even when nothing is happening. So I'm in that constant fight or flight mode. It's almost been second nature to me, but I'm working on letting those things go in therapy and realizing that, it's in those moments when I want to feel sorry for myself to remind myself that I've handled it before and I'm going to handle it again. And I have done this not only as a parent, but as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult all my life. And, God has always seen me through. So, for one, I am praying that we don't have any more hospital stays for a very long time. But, when life does present me with a comfortable hospital bed or room, I'm going to take the advantage of that to get the sleep that I can and rest, and knowing that there are others there that can help me and see me through it. And even in the midst of troubles, when God lets me know that He is there, I can rest and be at peace. And so I thank you so much for listening. I hope you captured something from that. It just has a lot to do with finding that peace and contentment wherever it may be, even if it is in a hospital bed or sleeping next, to your daughter while she is in the hospital. And we just kind of have to see it through, get through it, and know that God is always there with you, and He does provide those people to be by your side no matter what the situation is. So do your best to find the blessings when you can, and continue to be strong and able through it all, and realize that you are absolutely not alone. I speak to myself through a lot of these things. This won't be the first and the last. I talked about therapy because therapy is helpful, and even though it's not pleasant at times, it is something that is needed in a lot of our lives. And I encourage you to seek it when you need it. It doesn't mean you have to go every single day, but just reap the benefit when you can, and continue to pray and seek God as your Savior. And thank you so much for listening. I'm going to go and get caught up on another writing and be back soon to record it. So thank you so much. I shall be back soon. Talk to you later. Bye.